1 Kings, chapter 19. And a great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces. But God was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But God was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But God was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound so small it had no business existing after everything that came before it. The bass from the speakers is moving through the soles of your shoes. The person standing next to you has both hands raised, tears cutting clean lines down their face. And you're reading the seam on the back of the chair in front of you, like it contains information. You reach down into your chest, the way you check a pocket for keys you already know are not there. Nothing. Not grief, not resistance, not even doubt. Just the particular silence of a dial tone after the other person has already hung up, and you are still holding the receiver to your ear out of habit. You know every word on the screen. You know the theology behind every word. You have read the commentary. You have underlined things in the margins. And none of it is arriving anywhere. It is all landing on the outside of a body whose doors have been welded shut from the inside. You pull your hands into your sleeves, lower your chin, not in reverence, in concealment, because you have learned to arrange your face around a worship you cannot locate in your own body. And the terrifying part is not that you feel nothing. The terrifying part is that you have stopped being surprised by the nothing. You used to panic about this. Used to sit in the parking lot afterward, going through every moment of the service like a detective looking for the place where you stop being real. Now you just stand up when everyone else stands up. Sit down when everyone else sits down. And the absence fits so perfectly inside you. It has started to feel like a second skeleton. Let me show you something. When a body absorbs an impact beyond what its architecture was designed to hold, it does not scream louder. It goes clinical. The brain floods the circuitry, trips the switch somewhere beneath language, beneath theology. And the wound goes quiet, not because the wound is healed. Because if you felt the full dimension of the fracture at the actual speed it happened, your legs would not carry you from the parking lot to the front door. Shock is not collapse. shock is a system, making a surgical decision on your behalf. Now trace back, not to the obvious losses, not to the ones that had names and dates, and people bringing food in containers. The other ones. The friend whose replies got shorter by one sentence every month, until the thread just stopped. And you never said anything about it. Because what would you even say? The prayer you prayed with such specific faith that when the answer came back no, it did not just close a door. It reclassified an entire category of asking as something you were no longer willing to do. The Sunday you realized you were scanning the room to see who else might be pretending. Your system did not betray you. It reached in on an ordinary weeknight while you were doing dishes and pulled the main breaker before the wiring caught fire. The static you were carrying where the feeling used to live. This is not desertion. This is not your faith collapsing. This is something in you choosing your survival over your comfort. And you have been punishing it ever since. We carry this numbness into prayer, convinced it is a test result that came back positive for something terminal. That he only meets what arrives on fire, what trembles corrected. Go back to the mountain. Elijah had been walking for 40 days on the fumes of a single meal. He had carried the full weight of a calling that had emptied every room in his body. Not a single gram of spectacle left. He stood at the mouth of that cave, the way you stand at the door of the sanctuary, depleted present, unsure why. And then came everything religion has trained us to recognize as a rival. The wind that rearranges geography, the earthquake, the fire. And in none of it, not one of those magnificent, terrifying things, was he found. You have been standing in front of the wind, waiting to be knocked down, convinced that because the fire went cold, the room must be vacant. But look at where he actually was. In the low whisper, in the still, small register that only registers when every louder thing has already passed through you and left. The exact frequency of the silence you have been calling emptiness. He is not repulsed by your trip breakers. He is sitting within the static, has been sitting there this entire time, not pacing, not impatient, sitting. The way someone sits in a hospital room when the patient does not know they have a visitor. And what you are doing, showing up when the chest produces nothing, bending the knee, when there is no signal coming back, staying in the room, when every receptor says, the room is empty. is not damaged faith. That is faith with no performance left in it. No audience, no reward, no feeling to sustain it. Just a quiet, stubborn decision to remain. You are loving him in conditions that would make anyone else leave. And he has not missed a single second of it. You can stop performing the search. He has always been fluent in the frequency you cannot hear.
I sang every line again tonight and pressed my ribs for something after the way you touch a scar, to check if the nerve still answers. The room was full of something. I could read it in the other faces, but whatever they were reaching was not in reach of mine. I have not felt you in so long. I stopped keeping the count. The way you stopped checking the lock when you have already accepted what is missing. But I am still in the chair. I cannot explain it. I am still in the chair, and my hands are open. You were not in the wind, you were not in the earthquake, and I have been listening for you and all the wrong frequencies. Maybe you are here in the staying without feeling, in the kneeling without return, in the quiet I still believe, even now. Even I do not know what this looks like from your side, whether this hollow attendance counts, but I have nothing left to bring that is not already yours. Not the feeling, not the fire, not the earthquake, just this, the quiet, stubborn